You want to just do both videos in one take and then split them in post. That might be easier than having to stop it and reset everything because it's already going to have everything lined up.
Well, so with podcast, lining up is not the issue.
Yeah.
Because the audio is already directly incorporated into the video.
Why have we been we haven't been clapping, have we?
No.
Like we used to clap. Oh, when we had the mic. Yeah. Anyway.
The only thing that has to happen with videos on podcasts now, because of the lavaliers, is cut off the front, cut off the end.
Right, which is what I'm saying. If we just do both videos back to back, then
I have to find where they split, which wouldn't be the end.
It also isn't much effort to just hit stop start.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay.
Okay, so we're doing party games and solo games today. Thoughts on both. And then offering a few examples instead of
preferences.
Instead of doing
suggestions.
Instead of doing a top 10, which I mean we might still offer 10 or something, but we can just do like here's some suggestions in the category.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
That being said, a top 10 list somewhere down the road wouldn't be a bad thing. We just need to put a lot more effort into it than we have in recent videos.
I mean, to be fair, we thought about this 2 days ago, and neither of us have had a lot of free time the last couple of days. Because I have spent all of my free time editing and...
Yep.
Hello, board game enthusiasts. Welcome back to another episode of the Escape the Board podcast, where we're all about tabletop gaming. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Connor Sligowski, and my co-host,
Charles Holm. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are talking about themes, genres even. Specifically, I think we wanted to break down and talk about some party games that you might want to bring out when you've got a group of friends over, and also some solo games that you can play if you're maybe by yourself.
Yeah, just offer a little bit of contrast for either big groups or maybe you're a avid board game enthusiast and you don't have a big group of friends to play, or your friends aren't really available and you really feel like gaming right then. We'll offer some examples and our thoughts on the category as we get along.
Yeah, so party games. What is a party game? Is that anything like 4+ players or?
So to me, a party game is going to be at least 6 players.
At least 6.
Generally. I mean, obviously, a lot of party games you're going to be able to play less players. I mean, we've played Cards Against Humanity with 4 people before.
Sure.
But I think a party game should be able to comfortably fit at least 6 people. And upwards of, I mean, depending on the party game, 20 or 30.
Well, and that really, I guess, starts poking into the real question is, when do you bring out a party game? Is it at a party or is it the party itself?
Honestly, to me, I think party games are the party.
Sure.
As far as, because you don't, I mean, some people will go to board game night and be like, oh, we've got 12 of us.
Well, not necessarily board game night, but like, what if your friend's like, yo, party at my house, and then all of a sudden he pulls out a chessboard?
Yeah, that's not a party game.
That's not to be fair, that's he pulls out Monopoly. That's got 6 players.
That's fair.
But no, seriously, if someone's inviting you over for, chips and dip, and he's got sodas and pizzas out,
and then happen to pull out a game, and then, hey, let's play this.
The main entertainment for the evening, besides the food, is Cards Against Humanity.
Right.
Is that what we're imagining here, or are we imagining someone being like, hey, you guys want to come play Cards Against Humanity? It'll be a good time. Like, is it like a side element of an actual party?
Could be both.
You go to a high school party and there's like 40 people there, and often one of the side rooms you just got like 10 people whipping out cards.
I mean, I'm sure high school students aren't going to be whipping out the type of cards you're thinking of, but
it doesn't matter. 6+ players, party game, blackjack. You heard it here.
I mean, obviously there's limitations to it, but I think a party game should host at least 6 people comfortably. And as far as like whether it's go to a party and games happen to be pulled out, or if you go to a party to play a game, I think it could fit both scenarios. Obviously, there are people that do like to have small gatherings, and instead of, nobody has any expectations,
right?
But there's got to be some form of entertainment, or has to be. There doesn't always have to be, but the host wants to offer some form of entertainment, so they pull out Cards Against Humanity or Throw Burrito, or some other example of a party game, and that's what the night turns into. Versus, I know you and I often, we're like, hey, we're hanging out.
Doesn't Throw cap at like 6 people?
I think
it's either like 6 or 8.
I think one box of Throw does cap it. It's between 6 and 8, but specifically the box says that you can combine more than one game to increase the amount of players.
Fair enough.
I know Throw Burrito can also pair with Throw Avocado, made by the same group of people. So, yeah, I honestly, I just think a what defines a party game is the inclusion of as many people as you need included.
That's vague, but sure, I like it.
But it's vague, but it's also particular.
It is, but I mean, even party games have their caps. I mean, maybe yes. Throw doesn't, and maybe Cards Against Humanity doesn't. But I mean, Codenames is distinctly a party game. It's designed to be played in groups of people, so you can encompass, 8 players. Or like Pictionary is honestly a pretty common party game.
Yeah.
But if you start getting, upwards of 30 people, those games become unplayable pretty quickly.
Which is true. And that's why I originally gave the number of at least 6.
Right.
Because...
But even party games have their cap.
Which is true. As far as party games go, I mean, what is your favorite part about playing party games?
Boy, my favorite part is the fact that I'm able to just
lean on a team,
beat multiple people at the same time.
You're one of those gamers.
No, I'm not.
No, so to me, honestly, party games are about the interaction. It's about, like I said, pulling in enough people. Because, so specifically, our D&D group, we have 7 people that play with us. There are a lot of games that cap from 2 to 5, or from 1 to 5, or 1 to 6. And I think a lot of the time we pull out party games so that we can include everybody.
You bring up a good point, though. Just the other day, you had to take a hiatus from D&D. Mm-hmm. And while you were gone, we decided to whip out Dice Throne.
Yes.
Which is traditionally a 2 to 4 player game.
Right.
We made it a 5-player game.
I mean, we've made totally that game we've capped at 6.
We might have done 6 before. I can't remember ever doing more than 5.
Maybe.
I know that we've done 5 before.
Yeah.
But is Dice Throne a party game? Because you can just keep plugging in as many people as you want.
It's not designed to be.
It's not.
But, I mean, obviously, every gamer is familiar with homebrew. Right. And that's essentially what we've done.
But just because you can take a game and include it with a large party of people doesn't make it a party game. Is Dice Throne a party game? I don't think it's designed to be.
No, it's definitely not designed to be. It's not designed to be a party game. I think we have turned it into a party game. I think, like I said, it's a gray line with Dice Throne.
I think you hit an interesting point a second ago about interaction, though. I think party games are designed to have a rambunctious crowd in one degree or another. I mean, you think of Pictionary and it's a little bit quieter than, Throw Burrito by several leaps and bounds. But even when you're in the midst of Pictionary and, at the last second you get something right, suddenly everyone's jumping and screaming.
Right.
And party games just have that kind of social element to them where they're encouraging you to act like you're at a party. Be loud, be yourself, I mean, that's not necessarily the same. thing every time, but
right.
you
And
see what I'm saying?
I wouldn't argue that all party games are that way.
Sure,
Because you got
that's
like
true, but
Joking Hazard, which is
that's what I'm saying though. Like there's a social element specifically that you won't find with most board games.
yeah.
Because even Joking Hazard or Cards Against Humanity, while they're not like loud, explosive social experiments, it very much so is a social
type of game.
Yeah, where everyone kind of feels as a group like, oh my gosh, that's like the perfect thing, or oh my gosh, you are so dumb.
Right.
Like there's just this social hive mind that comes when you're playing party games.
Social awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said,
which is why
I've gotten to that point.
Yeah.
You specifically at our table, we've gotten to that point with Dice Throne.
Which is why I don't include games like Monopoly as party games.
Yes.
Because it is designed, every box of Monopoly probably comes with 6 standees in it.
Yeah.
Most games of Monopoly, again, I'm a Monopoly collector for any of you out there that don't know. Most games of Monopoly that have like specific little divots for the standees have 8 divots for some reason. No idea what the logic is on that yet.
Really?
Yeah, if you pull up my Monopoly Zelda game, it's got 8 divots and it's got 6 standees. No idea.
Did you pick it up secondhand?
No.
Huh. That's weird.
It's not uncommon for Monopoly. But anyway, point being is games like Monopoly and Life, and I mean to a lesser degree like Risk and stuff, they have no problem with large groups of people, but it's still that very focused mentality of I'm here to win,
right.
Not let's have fun.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. And, and we kind of touched on this a little bit in a previous video, but maybe that is what defers a game such as, like a classic game such as Monopoly or Risk, or, even new age games like Cosmic Encounter or something like that.
Right.
Because Cosmic Encounter can play, I think, up to 8 people, 6 or 8 people.
Cosmic Encounter caps at 5 because you only got 5 colors of ships.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But that's the other thing is, in a lot of party games, I don't think you're going to find boards very often, or if you do find a board, it's not a critical element of the game. Most
party games are going to be either card-based or turn-based. In fact, there's a game right back there called Panic Fire that I'm pretty sure holds a decent amount of people.
Honestly, that's another interesting thing I note about party games. A lot of them contain cards.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say all of them do, but even...
It is majority that we are aware of.
Even party games that have a board, like Trivia Pursuit, has cards.
Yeah.
What's up with that? Because cards are easy to pass around.
Well, and see, I don't know if I would consider Trivial Pursuit a party game.
It's pretty classic party game.
It's a classic game, but it's more of a trivia game.
It is a trivia game. It is a classic game, but it's also a game that people pull out in parties because it's something that you can play in large teams.
Right. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't say...
I've never played Trivia Pursuit at a party game, but like when I'm watching like movies and stuff, if they're pulling out a game at a party, it's always Pictionary, and if it's not Pictionary, it's Trivia Pursuit.
Yeah, that's true. I've never seen...
I have no desire to.
Right.
But that's also not our style of game. We don't enjoy that game, and neither do our families.
That's true. When I think party game, I'm thinking, like we mentioned, Cards Against Humanity. I'm thinking Joking Hazard. I'm thinking...
But like even Pictionary has cards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a simple way to streamline the game that can be compact. And that's another really good thing about most party games is they are fairly compact.
Yeah.
I mean, even the bigger, blacker box for Cards Against Humanity, it's a massive box, but it's portable.
Right.
And it's, especially if you're buying all of the expansion, it makes for you can play a lot of people in one box. And all it takes is...
Yeah.
However, I don't know the dimensions of the actual box, but...
What about worst case scenario? That's not one that we've ever covered on this channel, but you own.
Yeah.
That seats up to, I think it's up to 6 players, but it really feels
like a party
like
game.
like a party
Like
game.
it could, honestly, I would consider worst case scenario a party game. It plays very similar to a lot of party games. It's got the card, it's got the judging aspect, and the only limitation on that game is there's a set amount of player colors that the game provides.
Yeah, and I mean you could circumvent that very easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it provides. It's either 6 or 8 colors.
Right.
It might be 8. It might be 6. I don't know. Anyway, the point is the box comes prepared for a certain number of players.
Right.
But it does feel like a party game.
Yeah. It could very easily be adapted to play a lot more people.
Now here's another one. So when we were first thinking about recording this topic in general, we were talking about making it like a top 10 or like a top 5 favorite party games that we've ever played kind of list, right? And while I was running through my head what kind of games I would want on my top list, one thing that really stuck out to me on my top 10 list for party games that I don't know if I'm comfortable calling a party game is Hand and Foot. And for anyone out there that is not familiar with Hand and Foot, there is a variation of the game called Canasta. Not that anyone necessarily has ever played Canasta, but if you have played Canasta, Hand and Foot is a team game like Canasta, but you play in pairs rather than large teams. So like we think of like, again, Pictionary, and you're separated into 2 teams, or Codenames, you're separated into 2 teams, or stuff like Cards Against Humanity, or Worst Case Scenario, you're separated into kind of like one team against a judge that rotates around.
Right.
In Hand and Foot, even though it's designed to accommodate a large number of people, like honestly, I would never pull out Hand and Foot if I had less than 6 people.
Yeah.
And I hate pulling it out if I don't have at least 8. But even though it's designed to incorporate a large number of people, because of that I'm against everyone mentality, it doesn't have that same feel as other party games.
Which is fair.
So even though you need a party to play it, is it a party game? It's very, very different than other party games.
It is. And honestly, I think a big part of what defines a party game is the feel that you get when you're playing it. And with Hand and Foot, I think I agree with you. I don't know that I could count it as a party game. It is a large player game.
Honestly, it's the same problem that you get with a lot of gambling games. Because, I mean, even though you can have 10 players at a poker table or blackjack, it's just not the same thing as a party game.
No. And I mean, there are people that have poker night. I don't know why I'm air quoting that. There are people that do poker nights.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Or gambling nights, and that's fine. But I agree with you. It's not really a party game type feel.
Right.
And
well, I mean, we have Dice Throne night. Does that mean Dice Throne is a party game? Again,
right.
It's not.
And that's, like I said, that's why I emphasize the type feel.
Exactly.
Because to me, when I think party game, I think about the emotion that it elicits. And games like Hand and Foot or poker or Dice Throne don't elicit that.
Party games have a really weird habit of eliciting camaraderie, while at the same time you are trying to beat everyone.
Right. You're trying to win, but you're also
you're
rooting for everybody else.
Well, I don't know if I'd be rooting for everyone, but like if someone else wins, that's just part of the fun.
Yeah. Which is rare for board games.
Exactly.
For a lot of people. I mean, obviously, like there are people that don't mind losing. There are people that are going to have fun no matter what. But with party games specifically, it's a matter of, especially, let's take Cards Against Humanity for example, because there's so many people that are familiar with the game. If you're not familiar with Cards Against Humanity, I'm not going to explain it right now.
It's like apples to apples, but it's a little coarse.
There you go. If you have not played Cards Against Humanity, you need to go find the cheapest copy you can and find a group of people and play it because it is fantastic. But
if you're not into obscene topics,
then get Apples to Apples.
Apples to Apples. And if you haven't played Apples to Apples, same thing. Like if you're into more of adult themes, pick up Cards Against Humanity. If you're more into family-friendly themes, pick up Apples to Apples.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if you've never played either of those, then just try them.
They're so good.
But that brings up another thing, actually, with party games, because I was thinking about some other games that we play as a party, like, again, Betrayal at the House on the Hill is a very common one we pull out. And it's got kind of that one against the group mentality that you kind of get with Cards Against Humanity.
Sometimes.
But party games also have very simple rules that are easy to pick up.
Right. I'm going to backtrack just a second because I didn't quite get to my point.
Yeah.
So Cards Against Humanity, as an example, excuse me, okay, let's move on to Betrayal because I totally lost my train of thought.
You're welcome. That's how it goes here. No, that's really all I wanted to say about Betrayal. Is it's not a party game.
It's not a party game.
It's complex,
but
it's
again,
not something.
So yes, you have that one versus the many mentality in Betrayal that games like Cards Against Humanity or Joking Hazard provide, but I go back to the feeling that it elicits.
Exactly.
Betrayal is more of a horror game. It is definitely more of a gritty. I mean, it's not a super gritty type game, obviously, because when we covered it, we recommended it as an entry level for board game enthusiasts.
It is.
It's not ridiculously gritty, but as far as like a board game feels, it's that. It's not a party game. It's a board game.
Yeah.
It has the board. You're exploring the mansion. It's turn-based. And like, whereas a lot of party games has multiple people acting at the same time.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of what elicits that party game feel is, I mean, you've mentioned Codenames and Pictionary, where you've got two teams and you've got one team takes their turn and then another team takes their turn.
And if it's not
multiple people acting at the same time.
And then, I mean, again, you look at like Cards Against Humanity, and because there's not the two teams, everyone acts at the same time.
Yeah.
There is no turns.
Right. And I think that's another big distinction between party games versus other big... I don't even know if I would call them big box games. I mean, obviously, the bigger, blacker box is a big game, but...
But it's not a big box game.
Right.
I think specifically when we're talking about big box games, I think one conclusion that I came to, I don't know if you ever agreed to it, I have to go back and rewatch the video, but I think that big box games have complex rule books.
Right.
And I think party games, almost by definition, should not have complex rules.
Almost any
because
party game,
you think about
is a sheet
exactly
about this big.
Well, you think about the situation where you're pulling out a party game, and there is almost you can almost never guarantee that everyone knows how to play starting. You don't want to waste an hour explaining how to play for everyone. That's really going to turn down the mood. Everyone's there to be excited and have a good time. So you want to be able to quickly run down the rules in 5 minutes or less, and it needs to be something.
Explain it, and get
exactly, and it needs to be something that you can clarify in an instant if something happens wrong during the game.
Yeah, you're right. And so I know this isn't a video about big box games, but going back to our video about big box games, we specifically mentioned how most big box games also offer a feeling of entanglement, of what's the word I'm looking for?
Immersion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big box games offer a lot of immersion, whereas party games offer its own unique feeling, but it's always that feeling of camaraderie.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you're interested in talking about when it comes to party games?
No, I mean it's pretty. I think we've covered it for the most part. Party games are something that you want to pull out when you've got a big group of people over. You need to be able to make sure everyone understands the rules quickly.
You're looking for something fun, simple, and quick.
And it doesn't need to be quick, honestly. Some party games do last minute. Like honestly, we've been talking a lot about Cards Against Humanity.
Depending on how many people you have, that game
and that's the thing. If you're running it in a party, if you got 10 people playing it, the standard rules is first to 10 victories wins.
That's true.
And that can take upwards of 60 rounds.
Yeah, that's true. Before we move on to solo games, we kind of talked about doing a top 10. So
I don't have 10. I might give you 5.
I was about to say, even if we want to do like a top 5,
top 3, take it or leave it.
let's do a top 5.
Top one.
Not in any particular order, because I don't want to number the type of games. These are just recommendations.
Sure.
So what are 5 recommendations for party games that you would give to our viewers, our listeners?
Okay, well, I like that we're changing it a little bit because, again, not a top 5 list by any means. If it was a top 5, it would be my personal favorites that I want to play all the time, which, to be fair, with party games, not a thing for me. Party games are fun. I enjoy them. I don't shy away from them, but they're not my go-tos.
Yeah.
But anyway, not a top 5 because I have my theme preferences, but things that I recommend for you out there as an audience. Again, Cards Against Humanity and Apples to Apples.
Absolutely.
If you haven't tried either of those, you need to try them. They are a staple at many tables. And then I know it's kind of older, again, more classic, but I've got to go back to Pictionary and Trivia Pursuit. Again, I don't like Trivia Pursuit. But if you're the type of player that enjoys trivia-based games, that's your classic trivia party game, right?
Yeah.
And as far as a 5th one, I would say probably Throw, just because it's very energetic, very exciting.
Yeah. Throw Burrito is a great game if you haven't tried it. It's a dodgeball card game. You're literally throwing burritos at your opponents. It's a blast. As far as
I'm going to go ahead and group Cards and Apples in one, if that's all right, because it's basically the same game.
Yeah.
Last one on my list. I've got to say Exploding Kittens.
Okay.
Okay.
I was waiting for that one to come up.
Good,
and it just never did.
It never really did come up, but no, that's definitely on my top recommendations list.
Exploding Kittens is another really good one.
As far as party games go, that is my personal favorite party game.
That's fair.
Yeah.
As far as my top 5, or my 5 recommendations, again, not top 5, I do enjoy party games. I'm going to try to provide options that Charles didn't, and a game that I'm surprised did not end up on your 5 list is Codenames.
I like it, but again, that's a game that I want to play, but I can't throw out as a recommendation because I wanted to vary it. Again, my recommendations list is different than my top 10
That's
list.
Fair.
Yeah.
If you haven't played Codenames, highly recommend it. Another really fun. I mean, that's a party game that we pull out fairly regularly.
It is.
It's a great game. If you have tried Cards Against Humanity and you're into the adult humor, a game that plays slightly differently but still has a similar feel, and we've kind of been mentioning it throughout the video, is Joking Hazard. It is a great game. You're trying to create a 3-strip comic, and you've got literally just pictures to fill it in. It's super fun, super unique as far as a party game goes. It's still cards. There's one judge, and you've got lots of players kind of trying to take the win. As far as a 3rd slot, I have to look over on my shelf. Chameleon, I think, is a good one. Recommendation. And then, oh man, I might not have 5. Charles covered a lot of really good ones.
I did. Yeah, take that. If you want to steal one of mine, I've got one I can sub in. Similar to, so in the sense that the Joking Hazard is similar to Cards Against Humanity, there is another one out there that's similar to Joking Hazard called the Trolley Problem.
Yeah, that's by the same people. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with Cyanide and Happiness, it's the same people.
It's a webcomic.
Yeah.
But they produced a couple of card games.
And their card games are actually really cool. I think I prefer Joking Hazard. I don't know if I've ever actually tried
I prefer Trolley Problem.
Might have to try that. Might have to pick that up.
I know my brother has a copy. I'll see if I can borrow it so we can play it sometimes with our D&D group.
Cool. Something I don't know if I would necessarily consider a party game, but could probably be played and I think gives a similar feel is Tapple.
I could see Tapple as a party game, but the problem is that the device is just so small you can't fit a large party in there.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah, I could. You're right. It's got that party mentality, but it really is designed for a small group.
Right.
Not necessarily like 3 people, but like if you get over 5, it's almost unplayable.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I was like hesitant to throw it in, but we've been talking about how party games elicit that camaraderie feeling, and I think Tapple does a really good job of that.
Yeah.
I might be pushing it there, but I think Tapple deserves an honorable mention at least.
Absolutely. So I mean, the way that we're phrasing things right now really sounds like we're winding down the video, but just to be clear, we're still planning on talking about solo games today,
which is why I wanted to cover the recommendations. I don't think I have any other recommendations. I think the recommendations we provided are really good options.
Sure, yeah.
And with that, I think we are good to actually move into solo gaming.
So solo games are like the exact opposite of a party game. It's if you've got no one that's able to come over, or you just don't feel like inviting someone over, but you want to play something anyways, what's something that you can whip out and just enjoy by yourself? No innuendo intended.
Yeah, so we've talked about covering solo games on the channel before. We've covered a couple of games that we've mentioned have solo play options.
I don't buy a lot of solo games.
I don't either.
My big problem is if I want to play with myself, I usually turn to board games. I usually turn to I usually turn to video games. Board games are really more of a social
experience.
Yeah.
Social aspect. There's the social aspect to it that makes
delicacy. Board games are a social delicacy for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you. I don't have a lot of games that can be played solo. I don't know if I've ever actually tried any of the solo versions.
I know I've played the DC deck builder solo.
Okay.
That was painful. But that was a good time. I enjoyed that.
Ooh, now I'm curious about running Harry Potter solo. Harry Potter deck builder. I know it's not designed to do so, but it wouldn't be hard to do.
Is it opposed to it?
I'm pretty sure it says 2 to 4.
Box says 2 to 4.
Yeah.
We are aware that not Elderwood. Mouse Tree game. Everdale has a solo play option that we've both been interested in looking into.
I would definitely be interested in trying that. I'm still interested in trying so we've kind of looked into the solo play on Wingspan.
That's
how that works.
We've looked at the mechanics of it for sure.
And that seems like a really interesting solo play.
That almost seems like too easy to win though.
Maybe.
From what I've seen on the mechanics for it, it's just designed to fill a seat. It's not trying to win.
Which is fair, but I've also heard some thoughts on TikTok. I won't call them reviews.
Sure.
But I've heard people talk about Wingspan on TikTok saying that the Automa is actually a decent player.
Okay, well let's try it out. Definitely. Tell you what, let's do a 3-player game
with the Automa.
With the Automa as our 3rd player. We'll see if it's really what it lives up to.
That's fair. And then
Ares, Terraforming Mars.
Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition.
Expediting Ares Mars terraformation.
It took us a long time to get there.
And then we talk a lot about card games on this channel. I feel like there's no qualm in referring to many card games as a type of board game.
Right. Solitaire is a really solid for 1-player game.
I mean, you say solitaire, but solitaire distinctly comes in like 48 different varieties. That's not an accurate number. Someone out there is going to be like, no, I played at least 67. Yeah, there's 100 ways to play solitaire. Totally admitting to that, but solitaire's a good option that I go to when I've just got a deck of cards on me.
Yeah, you just feel like passing some time.
Exactly.
Start dealing yourself some cards. Solo gaming as a whole, I think, is a solid option for a lot of people. I as we mentioned, it's not normally our cup of tea.
Right.
I am interested in trying some of the solo options for games that we do have, but I think we're both in the same boat when like you said earlier, board gaming is a social experience.
For some.
Right.
For us, it is.
That's specifically for us. It is a social experience. We sit down because we enjoy spending time with our friends, and board games just so happens to be the way that we like to spend time with them. One of the main ways we like to spend with our friends.
Yeah, we own a couple of escape room simulators that are board games, specifically Escape Room in a Box and Unlock. While can be played multiplayer, my experience is they are both best played solo.
Oh, okay.
Because I know that you and I have tried to run Unlock together before.
Oh,
it was a nightmare. I'll be completely honest. It is much more enjoyable as a solo play.
Okay, fair enough. We still need to try Escape Room in a Box, or maybe I need to try Escape Room in a Box.
I didn't run through all of it. I started it.
Oh yeah, you played with your wife, huh?
A little bit. She was not
overly interested.
Yeah, she was not excited about the theme of it, but I don't blame her. She's not very much into board games in general. Anyway, completely aside. Yeah, so I ran through some of it. I don't think I finished it because we were kind of strapped on time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something to do.
So yeah, I mean, as far as you think of any classics that are solo play?
Solitaire.
Not card games.
Oh.
I'm talking like classic board games.
Yeah, so one comes to mind, and it is definitely a board game as it is played on a board, and that is the little peg hopper thing.
Oh, yeah. The little star. Or the triangle.
They've got a couple of different shapes, but yeah, most people out there have probably tried some variation of it where you start with a bunch of pegs on a board and you've got one empty space, and you take one peg and you jump over another peg, and that peg gets removed from the game, and then you take another peg and jump over another peg.
I've always seen that as more of a puzzle than a game.
Are puzzles not games?
I have never seen puzzles as games.
Okay.
I've seen.
I mean, we were just talking about escape rooms, but whatever.
I think puzzles can be part of a game. I've never seen a puzzle as a game.
Okay.
Like, I don't take a jigsaw puzzle and say, "Ooh, this is so fun to play."
Oh yeah, jigsaw puzzles. That's a solo board game. You literally build the board.
That's not a board game to me.
No.
That is an experience.
Okay.
Sure,
okay.
But it's not a.
What
board
about
game.
memory? That's not a solo game, not by any means, but I mean, it's kind of a puzzle.
I don't see memory as a puzzle.
No.
No.
Okay.
Because it's more about keeping track of where things are. It's not about putting things together or tearing things apart. Puzzles can be varied. Anyways.
Fair enough.
Now that I think about it, puzzles can be a lot of things.
Puzzles can be a lot of things.
Anyways.
Including board games.
I don't see
puzzles. So puzzles are putting things together or tearing things apart, right? So Everdell is a puzzle.
Not the... No.
No? It's got that tree.
You like taking what I say and twisting it.
That's the goal here, yeah, for sure.
No, I see games. I mean, a little off topic here.
I see games too.
Shush. Again, off topic because we're a board game channel, but I enjoy the show of Survivor.
That is off topic.
Way off topic.
Wow.
Survivor is a game, but there are puzzles incorporated in the challenges in the game.
Pretty sure Survival is a reality TV show.
Survivor
is a reality TV
game show.
Uh-huh. I don't think it's a game show. I think it's just a reality show.
It is a game. Survivor is a game.
I think of like Wheel of Fortune as a game show. I think of Survivor as a reality show. Those are just like very distinct genres of shows in my mind.
That's fair for your mind, but Survivor is a game. Ask any Survivor fan.
Wow. Next you're going to be telling me that football is a game.
Of course it is.
No, it's a sport.
Sports are games.
Wow, okay. So climbing is a game.
Not all sports are games.
Wow. All right. Whatever. Anyway.
Oh, like I said, off topic. But to me, Puzzles can be part of a game, but puzzles themselves are not generally the game.
Disagree, but sure. Do go on.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
That was my point. That was my only point.
That's a terrible point.
I don't see how.
My personal favorite solo board game, it's got to be rock climbing.
Not a game, not a board. There are games like card. I think it's a board game.
You think it's a board game?
Might be wrong.
Okay.
That is themed around rock climbing.
I'm sure there are several.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
we don't own them.
Climbing itself is not a board game.
Okay. All right, agree to disagree.
You're going to get a lot of comments on that one.
I don't know about that. I think
if you think Charles is stupid...
Hold on. They all saw your line of logic. This came from you.
It did not. Football is a game.
Football's a game.
Climbing is not.
Sports, therefore, are games.
No.
No? Football is not a sport.
I specifically said not all sports are games.
You're going to get a lot of hate for that.
Why?
Actually, on both ends, a lot of people refuse to admit that sports are games, and a lot of people refuse to admit that sports are not games.
I would admit that a lot of sports are games.
You're going to get a lot of hate for that.
And if there's a competitive aspect, then maybe you could put a game title on it. There's competitive rock climbing.
That's a game?
Maybe, maybe not.
So, competitive rock climbing. Hear me out. So, board games. So, if I have something like Sorry, right? Or what's the old version of it? Not periwinkle, that's a color. Pesky Pixies.
Pesky Pixie Pestronomi. I can't even freaking say this.
Parcheesi. There you go. Okay. So, sorry, Parcheesi, like, honestly, even Life or Monopoly, you got little pieces that you're moving around, right? Okay. Rock climbing. I've got one piece that I'm moving around, trying to reach the end goal.
No.
And in competitive rock climbing, I don't see how this is not a board game. And if competitive rock climbing is a board game, then single player rock climbing is a solo board game.
You are adding the word board in there.
No, it's a board because you've got little pieces that are moving around. I choose where the piece goes.
It is not a board game.
All right, you're lost.
If you think Charles is wrong, leave a comment in the comments.
If you think Charles is pedantic, completely ignore Connor. Anyway, solo games.
Yeah, solo games. So I think solo gaming is a good option for a lot of people, especially if you don't have the group of people.
Mm-hmm.
If you maybe have moved to a new city and you don't know anybody, or if you just aren't a big social person but you enjoy the idea of board games.
Or again, if you just feel like playing a board game and don't feel like inviting someone over.
Right. There are lots of options for solo gameplay, solo board gameplay, and there's honestly, I think the fact that a lot of newer games have created a version that one player can play is really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it because again, not everyone is lucky to have a group of people to just show up and play with.
I think the inclusion of a single player version helps include a lot of people into the game that maybe wouldn't have been able to play it otherwise.
Right.
And games like Wingspan or Terraforming Mars, the fact that there is a solo play, and those are games we enjoy, I'm honestly surprised we haven't tried the solo play yet.
We don't pull games out if there's not at least two people.
That is true.
It just doesn't happen at our table.
That's very true. Because like you, if I don't have somebody to play a board game with, I tend to lean on either my PlayStation or my computer instead of a board game. I mean, if I wasn't as blessed as I am to have those options, I would probably pull out solo games more often.
Sure.
But I mean, I am a very blessed individual with, and I'm super grateful for the things that I have, and I know not everybody is that lucky. Is that
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying not to offend anybody in the way that I'm wording this, but I know that there are people that are less fortunate.
It's not even just less fortunate. I was talking to a gal a few days ago about gaming in general, and one thing that I realized is that some people just don't care. It's about priorities in a lot of situations as well. So let's say that you want entertainment, right? Some people will go out for video games. Some people will go out for movies, board games, concerts, right? There's 101 ways to entertain yourself. And if you like something, but only a little bit, and you'd rather spend your money on something else,
right,
then maybe you've only got a little bit of money for something specific. It's like, yeah, I enjoy, not me, I really enjoy board games. But let's say that I just kind of enjoy video games. Let's just say that I kind of enjoy video games, and it'd be nice to play them every now and then. But I don't want to spend $300 on video games. I'd rather go out and spend that camping.
right,
Right? Cool. Well, sure. There's lots of good options you can do for $50 or less, so you can have something to play every now and then.
right.
Same thing goes with board games. If you're not interested in having a huge collection like us, and there's like, yeah, I might as well play something every now and then. Here's some things you can pick up.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's actually a really good place to call it. I think.
Oh, you didn't want to do a top 10 list of solo games?
Oh, yes. I
Sorry,
totally forgot.
Not top 10. Personal recommendation list.
Recommendations for games to play. And honestly, this list is pretty much been covered for me throughout this video.
Sure.
My list of recommendations, obviously, if you don't have a lot of money and you're looking to kill some time, solitaire is a solid option. Do a little bit of searching. You can find so many variations of solitaire, like Charles mentioned. Definitely check out Wingspan if you have a little, or I mean, honestly, if you have the money to spare and you're interested in having the game just in case your friends come over and you'd like to introduce them to some, interesting board games, Wingspan, Terraforming Mars Eris Expedition, and Everdell are three solid games that I think the solo play, may not give you that full experience of the big box game playing with your friends, but they are solid options as board games they are solid options as board games as a whole.
Sure.
So even if you only play the solo play once, or, like we've been talking about, if you don't have a consistent group of friends to come play board games with you and you love board games, definitely check them out. Definitely check out the solo play. And that's only 4.
That is, yeah. I mean, honestly, I have even a hard time recommending those big box games. Hear me out. I love the multiplayer option. I'm sure the solo play is great. I would love for anyone out there that wants to play solo games to have that versatility of being like, okay, do I want to play this solo or do I want to play this with friends? I love the concept of it. I can't endorse it having never tried the solo options.
Just fair.
I do have 2 recommendations though. Back to solitaire. If you are looking for a cheap option for single player games, something just to kill the time, buy 4 decks of playing cards. Make sure they've all got the same back, the same style of playing card. And I know you've got internet because you're watching this video. Seriously, just Google solitaire games. So many options you can pull out with 4 decks of cards. It's ridiculous. And then the other thing that I brought up a little bit earlier, if you're looking to spend a little bit more money on a solo player game, you're going to want to pick up the DC Deck Builder. Specifically, you're going to need a base set, and then there's an expansion that you're going to need to pick up, and it is the...
I can't help you on this one.
No, I think you can. Not indestructible. It's... I really hate doing research on camera, but this is a serious recommendation. My problem is that I bought this expansion so long ago, and it's just we incorporated all the cards into kind of one box, and I never look at it anymore.
Yeah.
Not the box. I look at the box all the time. It's the rules for the expansion. But despite my ramblings, Google the single player option for DC Deck Builder card game.
And solo play expansion.
Yeah. Definitely. So again, you need a standard set of the DC Deck Builder. They've got like 10 different varieties
options
right now. But you just need one base set, many different varieties to choose from, and the solo player extension to it. Altogether, that's probably going to run you about $50 depending on where you live. Yeah.
So not a super expensive option.
Not a super expensive option, but again, like if you want to get into something to kill time for under $10, you buy 4 decks of playing cards.
Right. So yeah, now I think that's a good place to call this video.
Maybe. Or if you really just like solo play options, invest in puzzles. Get a Rubik's Cube.
Oh my lord. Not a board game.
Not a board game. I didn't say it was a board game.
Anyways, hopefully you've had as much fun on this random jumble of a video as we have. Make sure to keep escaping the boredom, and we'll catch you next time. Ow, my ass.